have the opportunity this month to preach 2 weekends in a row. So I'm going to give you part 2 of what I started last weekend. I must say I had some very interesting commentary, particularly at the coffee house, and we'll leave it there. But a few of you were there. Whenever you get talking about relationships, there's always some interesting things to say. But I'm going to venture forward undaunted, and I'm going to finish this story today. Short story. And really what I'm saying is I'm giving you a little personal testimony here of what I just say to people when they ask the question, how did you ever decide to become a priest, or how did that happen to you? How was that for you? And so I thought, wow, today again, the Lord is serving up on the rich fare of His Word, giving me context, of course. The gospel today, all about the call of the first 4 apostles, Andrew and Peter, the sons of Zebedee, James and John. They're I guess equivalent maybe to the first little college of cardinals, although they didn't have cardinals in those days, but those were, of course, the first 4, the top 4. And last week, of course, I shared a few details. Just to recap, I had come up here to the Ottawa region when I was about 23 and a half to seek employment, and particularly, as I said, to draw closer to a young lady that I was dating at the University of Ottawa. Anyway, a year and a half later, the whole thing kind of fell apart. The job offer, the great job offer, did not pan out, and I broke up with my girlfriend. And I thought at the age of 25 that my life was over. I went back home at Christmas time to Southern Ontario, met up with Father Peter Coughlin, a good friend of mine, ended up in his office. And of course, I felt corralled by him. But I accepted the offer of taking up a job as a pastoral worker, working full-time at St. Charles Garnier Church. And of course, relating to you as I did, and no, I did not write a book. I may write an article, but I would entitle it, My Call to the Priesthood, My Most Disastrous Dating Career. Okay? So I'll just continue a little bit into that, part 2. And I entitled this The Divine Chat, not to be confused with Dante's Divine Comedy, but it may have a few elements of humor in it. So moving forward, still working with Father Peter Coughlin as a full-time pastoral assistant at the parish, I was just on the verge of going to see the vocations director. This is, so to speak, the recruiting center for the priesthood for the Diocese of Hamilton. Father Roger Formosi was the priest at that time. But I hesitated. And I thought to myself, I just need one more sign. Or perhaps a word of divine confirmation, something. Anyway, I woke up with this thought. It was the month of April, early April, and it happened to be Holy Week. And this particular day was Thursday of that week. Of course, it was Holy Thursday, the beginning of the 3 days of Triduum, the holiest days of the year leading to Easter. And I thought to myself, as I was still thinking about going to see Father Roger, I just need a sign. And perhaps I thought to myself, I need to have like a chat with God. Sounds kind of strange, doesn't it? But that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, it would be nice to sit down with the Lord and have a talk. Like man to God and God to man. And then the thought came to me that it was Holy Thursday. Well, I said to myself, wait a second. This is Priesthood Day. We're celebrating the institution of the priesthood. Although it's not recorded per se in Scripture, but we do know that on Holy Thursday, Jesus said to his chosen 12, do this in memory of me, the institution of the Eucharist. And of course, they were to become priests. So I thought to myself, this is very good. And well, I thought, wait a second, we have the celebration of the Lord's Supper. And after the celebration of the Lord's Supper, we gather in the church for those of us who want to stay, and we can pray for 3 hours before the altar of repose. And I thought to myself, that's it. I'm going to sit myself in the church, and I'm going to have a little chat with the Lord. And I'm going to sit there in my chair or in my bench or pew, and I'm going to ask God for some clarifying words or a sign. I didn't really know what I was praying for, but I knew that somehow I would get some clarity on this. So I did just that. And so we had a beautiful Mass of the Lord's Supper, the washing of the feet, and I was, of course, part of the liturgy committee, so I was helping out a little bit. And when everything had settled down, the lights were down in the church, I sat about halfway from the front of the church, and I sat there in the quiet. I quietened myself, and I said something like this, although I didn't blurt it out, but I was saying to myself and to the Lord, Lord, I need confirmation. I need to know, are you calling me to the priesthood, yes or no? And so I just left it at that. And within a few minutes, something happened. I was just sitting there quietly, and all of a sudden, I could feel the presence of God. I can't describe it in any way, but he felt so close, so much so that it felt as if I was being lifted off the seat, and I was somehow into some sort of eternal moment, removed from space and time. And in that, within my heart, it's as if I was hearing a voice, a very gentle but firm voice, saying something like this, yes, Dennis, I have been calling you for some time. Open your heart. Will you consider my call? And it went on like that for about 15 or 20 minutes. And in that as well, it's as if I was looking at my life as a book, if I can use that description, and we were going back in time and the different pages of times where the Lord was sending people to me, so to speak, to make that call clearer. I even remembered something that was, it's a little funny. It's funny and tragic. I don't know. I was at the Lucky Key Chinese restaurant on Carling. Do you know where that is? And of course, I was with my date and this young lady, and we were having a wonderful meal, the kind of Friday night, a romantic kind of atmosphere. And we were halfway through the meal, and I said, I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something like, would you pass the spare ribs, dear? And she picked up the plate, and she sort of stopped halfway, and she looked right into my eyes, and she said, you know something, Dennis? I think you would make a good priest. I said to her, well, what's this all about? My disastrous dating career. But I was remembering things like that. And the Lord was impressing me that it was okay, that it was going to be okay if I said yes to this call. So the sense of his presence was there, and the whole thing sort of didn't evaporate, but as if I came down on my seat, and all of a sudden, as if I woke up and I was looking around at all the people praying, and I was thinking to myself, oh my, he's calling me to become a priest. I just kept repeating that, and for some reason, I couldn't stay in the church. I don't know, as if I had to run out and tell someone. So I went out and into the rectory, up into the living room, and of course no one there. Father Peter was in the church. There's no one there, except the only thing that was in the living room I was looking at was the television set. I picked up the remote. I pressed the button. Oh my. Oh my. Do you know what was on? Love Boat. Love Boat. It was Thursday night. 35 years later, I'm still trying to interpret that sign. So if you have an insight, please share that with me after Mass. It's not the whole story, but it's part of the story. And some weeks later, I did go and have a chat with Father Roger Formosi, the vocations director. The rest is history, of course. But I share that with you because even sometimes our prayer is not perfect. It's maybe a little reluctant. It limps. Nevertheless, the Lord does answer prayer. And the scripture, as I was recalling this experience, the scriptures that came to mind: knock and the door will be open. Search and you will find. Ask and you shall receive. It may be at times that we are reluctant to ask the Lord a question. It may be that we may fear what he may say to us, but we have nothing to fear. 35 years later, I have absolutely no regrets, just a profound sense of gratitude to the Lord's patience with me in my times of indecision, my struggle, my ambivalence with his call. And the most wonderful thing is that, he still puts up with me today. Thanks be to God. And this assures me of his constant love. I could go on, but I'll just end there by saying that after the post-communion prayer today, we're going to hear another testimony, a short testimony from a parishioner who herself asked the Lord a few questions. And you will discover that the Lord indeed does answer our prayers. And if I was to put it and end it like this, I would say the best answer of all would sound something like this. The Lord would speak to us and he would say to all of us, "From all eternity, I have loved you. With an everlasting love, I have called you, and you are mine."